Good morning, everyone. Today we're joined by Pietra Rivoli, Professor of Finance and International Business at our McDonough School of Business. She has twice served as Vice Dean of our McDonough School of Business and is co-founder and executive director of our Georgetown Pivot program. Pietra, I'm so glad you could join us today. Thanks for taking the time to be with us for this conversation. Let's jump in and get started. You've been a member of our community for 35 years. You've made invaluable contributions as a scholar and teacher. And I'd like to start by asking you about a more recent effort that you've helped to launch and lead, and that is the Pivot program, a business and entrepreneurship program for formerly incarcerated returning citizens, which is supported by the DC government in a collaboration between our McDonough School of Business and our Prisons and Justice initiative. The program welcomed its newest cohort of fellows this past November and has been doing some terrific work to advance issues of racial justice. For those who may not be familiar with the Pivot program, can you give us a sense of the program's mission and the work in which it's engaged?
Sure. Well, first of all, Jack, thank you very much for inviting me. I realize when you say 35 years, you and I started our careers at Georgetown at just about the same time, and I'm still where I started, and you're the president. So it's been great to work alongside you all these years. So the Pivot program is really one of the most exciting things I've been involved with in my career at Georgetown. As everyone knows, in the US, the issues of criminal justice and racial justice are inextricably linked. Many people have probably heard that in the US, we're exceptional in all the wrong ways when it comes to criminal justice. We incarcerate a dramatically higher proportion of our population than other countries. And the racial element of this, just really cannot be ignored. If you measure any kind of interactions with the criminal justice system, whether it's traffic stops or searches or arrests or convictions or sentencing, we observe a great deal of systemic racism at work in this system. And of course, once someone is kind of caught up in the criminal justice system in the United States and in many jurisdictions, that's often when life starts to sort of spiral down. And a particular challenge in our system, is what we call reentry. When you walk out of the gates of your prisoner jail upon release, what's next, okay? And every week in the United States, more than 10,000 people do exactly that, okay? And not a single one of them, we can be sure wants to go back, okay? And we know the key to successful reentry. We know the most important key to unlock is employment, okay? And if someone can walk out of prisoner jail, into a stable employment setting where they are able to contribute to an organization, take care of themselves and their family, the chances of recidivism just drop away dramatically. So, it seems like it's just a very powerful and simple, solution for many people. I've spent my career at the business school, so I often think of things, with a business problem lens. And my entire career watching businesses, talking to businesses, you hear about the importance of people in organizations. And you hear that organizations everywhere face the same challenges. How do we find talent? How do we develop talent? How do we retain talent? And then more recently, how do we meet our imperative for DEI and including especially people of color in our talent pipelines? So if businesses are going to, achieve these goals of retaining and developing talent, they can't exclude, the the 33% of Black men in our country with criminal or felony records. You know, that's just, it's the mathematics of that are not going to work. So, you know, the Pivot program is really bringing Georgetown's resources to this problem. And, you know, we are doing things that we do anyway, right? So, and that we know how to do. We're providing education. We're providing professional development opportunities. We're providing internships, just as we do for students in many of our programs. And, you know, this combination, this portfolio of kind of our normal activities, you know, delivered to this population is just incredibly impactful. It allows them to start to write a different story. Now, I think, you know, where we're very fortunate is that we have so many strong relationships with the business community and with local businesses. And so, you know, we're in a position to work with them to help them, you know, build these pipelines of talents. You know, fundamentally, I think, you know, people realize that there are many bad people in the world who've never broken a law. And there are many good people, you know, who are incarcerated. So we are, you know, we have a very, very simple message to employers and to the business community. And that's that evaluate the person, not the category. And we will help you do that. And we will help you build this pipeline. And, you know, we're thrilled that we're having, we're in our third year. And I think, you know, because of just an amazing team, and support from all over Georgetown, you know, we have a great record so far. Yeah. So thank you for asking about that.
Well, thank you. And let's take it just a little bit deeper. Can you describe some of the experiences of our Pivot Fellows? I know the program just recently hosted an event where fellows presented their ideas on how to better support the reentry of returning citizens. Tell us why this program is so important.
Well, yesterday we had a wonderful event. We had a number of our supporters. We had community leaders, and you know exactly what you said. Our Pivot Fellows have been working for months under Professor Evelyn Williams, doing a design thinking project where they come up with solutions to reentry challenges. And it was just a wonderful, you know, event, because who better to learn from in designing these systems than the people who have been through it. One of the fellows we heard from yesterday is a member of our current class, Camilla Finley. Camilla is from DC, spent many years in and out of prisons. She's had some struggles in the past with addiction. But Camilla has been sober for more than 2 years from now. Yesterday she told the audience a little bit of her story. When she was released from DC jail, they said to her, you know, what's your address? And she said, I don't have anywhere to go. And she said, and the you know officer said, well, you have to give us an address, otherwise we can't release you. And so she made something up. And then she spent the next few days wandering around Union Station, you know, without an ID, without resources. So, you know, through a fortuitous sequence of events, Camilla enrolled in our program in November. She is, you know, she's an employer's dream. She's a relentless worker. She's an outstanding communicator. She's incredible with people. She is just remarkably, you know, she's a great multitasker, very intelligent. And, you know, she's one of so many people, you know, with just a little bit of help and support can be brought along to kind of change their story. And we are thrilled that on Monday, Camilla is going to start an internship with Deloitte. Okay? Wow. One of the many companies in this area who are friends of Georgetown and believe in this work. And she's committed, you know, to helping, you know, others in her shoes. So, you know, our our hats are off to Camilla, our hats are off to Deloitte, and we're just so thrilled that we're able to bring them together. Another member of our first cohort is also got a wonderful story. Ralph Green is a graduate of the 2018 class. He was incarcerated very young. The day I met Ralph, he told me that he was joining the Pivot program because of his grandfather. His grandfather had heard about this program and really said, this is for you, you have to do this. And, fast forwarding a couple of years, Ralph now works for us in the Pivot program. We have worked with nearly 50 returning citizens in DC. Not a single one has gone back to prisoner jail. So, it's just, it's such an honor, to do this work here at Georgetown.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, the Pivot program is just one aspect of your larger work to bring together ideas of business and social justice, including the global dimensions of business, which much of your scholarship has focused on. What are some of the ideas that shape your perspective when it comes to business education? What does it mean to do this work here at the McDonough School of Business?
Well, I think that, the McDonough School of Business has always been on the frontier of various aspects of work that relate to social justice. And I think that, the next frontier in the whole field of DEI, okay, will be returning citizens. That will be the next frontier. And I think, what we're doing is very bold. And it's very brave, and no one has done it before. We're the only leading business school in the country that is in partnership with, a local government to do this kind of work. And, I know that, you've been so active in kind of pushing us on the frontier in all kinds of ways on social justice over the years. And so I just see this as part of that same, that same mindset. Let's do something a little harder, let's push this a little further. How can business be engaged, not as they were, but as they probably will be in 10 years. That's where we want MSB is on the frontier of those social issues.
Sure. Now, some who may be watching our conversation will know you from your widely acclaimed book, The Travels of a T-Shirt in the Global Economy, a book that was translated into 14 languages, received numerous awards for its insights on the story of global cotton and textile production. And what sorts of ideas and perspectives do you hope the book has been able to share when we think about globalization and the dynamics of global trade?
So, I guess the first thing I would say about the book, which was, quite an adventure in many ways for me, is that, I think it is a book that in many ways could only have been written at Georgetown. If I had gone off to some other school after my PhD, it just wouldn't have happened. And there were a number of reasons for that. One is the kind of dialogues that were taking place on campus. Another is the access that I was able to have to policymakers in Washington to talk to them and so forth. And so it really is, I think it's a very Georgetown book. And when I talk to, when young faculty ask me about the book, I say there, some kinds of research you could do anywhere, but other kinds you really are going to be better off here. So, that's kind of as background. There's a core idea in economics that most economists line up behind this notion of an ideal of free trade, and the argument that lowering barriers to trade improves welfare around the world, and it's a powerful force for improving standards of living. And of course, I grew up with my economic training I think very much a part of that idea, and I think it's still a strong idea, and it's how we think about it, and it's how we teach, but it's also a theoretical ideal, and that's what I learned in working on this book. If we're going to have global trade, someone is going to write those rules, right? There isn't a rule book anywhere that just says, let's have free trade. Who's writing the rules? Is it the WTO? Is it our, bilateral trade agreements? Is it Congress? And what we recognize as we look at globalization is, like everything else, those with power are the ones who write the rules. And the rules are never neutral, right, in trade and globalization. So the rules are always advantaging one set of interests over another. And I think, that's the key to understanding the effects of globalization, both in the United States and everywhere, is understanding, what is the political process and whose interests are getting represented when we start to kind of design the regime of world trade. It's going to be very interesting to watch the Biden administration. They are saying kind of different things about how those rules are going to be written. But fundamentally, that's what I learned. It's not so helpful to say, let's have free trade. It's much more helpful to understand the rules and how they're implemented.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, as we think about this past year and the economic impacts of the coronavirus on global trade, are there particular issues that you're focused on now? You're part of a course on global markets and politics this semester. How has this moment impacted the kinds of conversations you're having in the classroom?
Well, Jack, in addition to Pivot, which is, incredibly exciting work, another thing that I have been involved in since, I guess, about 2017 was the design and launch of, Georgetown's first ever undergraduate joint degree, which is our degree in business and global affairs, joint between MSB and the School of Foreign Service. So that was an incredibly fun project to work on. And now I'm really happy that I get to teach in this program that we launched. We're now in our second year of actually teaching students. And the course that you mentioned is actually the first course in this new degree program. So it's exciting in a number of ways. One of the kind of constructs or that we talk about in the course is I ask the students to imagine, dials that a policymaker can set to open or set to close or set to somewhere in the middle. And those dials, relate to openness, okay? Where do you set the dial for the flow of people? Where do you set the dial for the flow of goods and services? Where do you set the dial for flows of capital and investment? Why do dials get set where they get set? What are the causes of where those dials are and what are the consequences? So this is kind of a big picture of what we're trying to do in the course. And if you think about it, the coronavirus has affected every single one of those dials, in terms of what policymakers have to respond to. Trade and goods has changed. Obviously, immigration has changed and investment has changed as well. If you look at kind of some of the policy issues around, the investment in vaccine and medical equipment and so forth. So it's really, it's a laboratory that is made for studying this construct of dials. I'm teaching this course as part of a team, along with Professor Nita Rudra in SFS and Professor Brad Jensen, my MSB colleague, and we're just having a wonderful time. We have a group of about 90 freshmen, and they're phenomenal. So you're right, it's a great time to be talking about these topics.
Thank you, and thank you so much for everything that you do for our community and for joining us in this conversation right now. As we close, Is there a message that you'd like to share with our community?
Well, I'd like everybody to know that MSB this year is celebrating the 60th anniversary of the first woman to enroll in the business school. And Professor Michael O'Leary, one of my colleagues, has led an amazing journey that's going to result in the publication of a book in the next couple of weeks, where he has chronicled the stories of 60 years worth of women alums of MSB. So I would just like to ask the community to join us in a toast in celebrating those 60 years of remarkable alums.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that story with us, Pietra. And thank you again for taking the time to be with us for this conversation. Again, we're deeply grateful to you for your leadership and for all that you mean to Georgetown over these many, many years of service and leadership in our community. And I look forward to being with all of you again soon. Take care of yourselves and take care of everyone around you. For every Hoya, everywhere.